You are too young to remember open classrooms of the 1970s. But then from the 1970s, we went into the 1980s where it was No Child Left Behind and massive testing requirements. And then we hit the 90s and the early 2000s, and everyone had to have a device. I had superintendents who told me that they viewed their career achievement as being a one-to-one, a device for every student. Yet today, what I hear from superintendents, from educators is, we made a big mistake. We're actually seeing schools remove devices out of elementary school classrooms. So my question to you, with this ever-swinging pendulum that goes too far out on one side and then too far out on the other, how do we make sure that we're meeting the mark of what our students need, that whole child education, real meaningful learning, so that they are thoughtful and they're able to be successful in their lives, in their work? How do we make sure we don't go too far out with AI in an educational setting?
I would think, as we have been focused on working on the basic needs of students first, if a student's basic needs, Maslow needs, are not met, then we're not going to be able to take them into the learning. So that's always step one.
And I appreciate that. And I will tell you, in the 1970s, they would have said, well, it's an open classroom. In the 1980s, we need massive testing. In the 90s and 2000s, they would have said, it's a device. Every child needs a device. Yet my own daughter, who's a special education teacher, has not allowed her children to have a device. So help me understand exactly how we can measure that this is making the impact that we need it to make for our children to be successful and well-educated.
Well, and that's where I think balance comes in, that the devices do exist outside of the classrooms, and they're often outside of the classroom walls, they're off of the campuses. And how do they handle that in a way that they also regulate and they are able to do that moderation of access to technology and be able to appreciate the unplugged environments that they're also in. But I think from an evaluation standpoint, it's really looking at those 6 C's as to, are they able to communicate? Are they creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration? That's really where I think the focus of how we measure, are we being effective? And we could do that, and a student might leverage AI or they might not leverage AI. But it's what's the task at hand that they need to accomplish, and then how do they do that, utilizing those 6 C's to do that. So I think, again, our district has a one-to-one environment, but it's not an initiative that we say, make sure those students are on those devices every day or every hour, use them appropriately. Use them when the need is, where it makes sense, but don't use them for their own sake. So I think that's where it really comes down to, as having the guidance in the classroom and in the districts to do what's right for kids, and not the whole concept of just what's new, and to do it with intentionality. And if your task is to get the students to learn their phonics, then a device right now might not be necessary. There might be a reason why it could be helpful for a certain student for accessibility features. And I think that's a big feature right now that we have the opportunity for, is accessibility better than we ever have for our students. So I do see that as a great opportunity for the educational environment, K through 12, to provide that accessibility for students who might not have had it before.
As policymakers, we're looking to strike the right tone, create the right environment for our students to be successful. And so I think what we really want to take away from today is how we achieve that with ever-changing and evolving artificial intelligence in education. So I appreciate your input. Thank you very much.
Thank you.